Everyone, welcome to Inside the AI. I'm your host, the Data Doc, and today we're going to be creating a chatbot that is a research assistant chatbot. I am a DBA student right now, and I have to go through a lot of different articles. So what I've created is a research assistant chatbot where I can upload all of my documents into my Google Drive. As I do my research, I will update this database automatically. So as I'm talking through this, what I want to do is I want to test this model. So what I want to do is I want to hit test model, and this is going to start working for me. And what this is going to do is it's going to retrieve my information from my Google Drive, which is right here. And then it's going to send that information to me so that I can approve it. So I can hit approve and open that. And it's going to say it's completed. And then that is going to send that information on. And it's going to pass this information into a database. It's going to extract the information, send that down to a vector store where it's going to numerize it. And if you need more information on what a vector store is, what a vector database is, see above in the description where I have a breakdown of what this is doing. This content is redone over and over again. As we can see, our second document has just passed through. We have a wait node here to prevent API falloffs from rate limits. And so now this vector data store is being created. This first part up here makes sure that any of this information is removed. So as this is going through, if there is relevant information or content that is matching of the information, it will remove that so you don't have redundant data in your database. So again, if you find value in this video, please like and subscribe. Stay tuned because I'm going to walk through what happened in this and then give you a step-by-step guide of how to build this out. With this completed, so now that we have our information updated to the vector data store, we have an AI agent. And this AI agent will be our research assistant. And we can ask it any question on our data and get a response on Telegram. So now let's look at some of our data and see what we have. We'll focus on this one right here. And this is an article on AI. And it says AI systems increasing impact society in the EU. So let's go here. Let's open our chat window and let's ask it, how is AI impacting the EU? Now we see the information being sent to our agent. It accesses information from our vector store, and then it grabs the information and sends it to us on our Telegram. So here we have AI is impacting the EU in several critical ways. And we have information framework, regulation and framework. And then we have the EU is proactively establishing regulatory measures to address the challenges posed by AI. The proposed EU Artificial Intelligence Act is a major legal step aimed at ensuring ethical and US and AI technologies, balancing innovation with societal risks. The AIA categorizes AI applications based on risk levels. So now we have ethical considerations, economic dynamics, social concerns, collaborations, and then it gives you an overall. So now we can continue to ask it any kind of question based solely on the information from the vetted data sources that we have put into this system. So if you find value in this video, please like and subscribe. Leave comments so that I can work on something extra or a different type of system for you. And join my communities linked in the description below. Thanks, I'm the Data Doc. Stay tuned for a step-by-step process of what happened in this part and how to build this out. So now what I want to do is I want to walk through step-by-step what each node is doing, and then we'll go through the AI agent and how it accesses it. So we have a webhook here. This webhook is deactivated. So we're doing a testing method with the click. So we just hit click test mode and it executed this. And if you notice, the green is where the routes have executed. The webhook has information that you can send. So you can drop information in the webhook. I can set up a separate video of how to set that up. But in this node, what I did was I set up the location for my file. Where you get this from is on your Google Drive. You have this URL. It is the last piece of the URL right here after the first dash. So you have that dash, and all this information is the title or the name that Google gives that folder that all of these files are in. Each of these files have their own folder. So when you click this one, this is that file's name right here. And that's important to note in the next node that we have coming up. Each of these nodes, each of these documents have their own ending of that URL. So now this URL is captured and it's passed through. So it only sends that actual file. And so now that is sent to Google Drive. And it tells Google Drive to download and search that folder for the files within that folder. So when this is executed, it accesses this folder and passes it through and says, search this folder. And this is dynamic, so you can change this to any folder you'd like. And it says, search this folder and retrieve all the information inside of that. And inside of that was these documents here, which are all PDFs. That information is then sent to a quadrant collection. The quadrant collection is the name. So this is sending through the name for that information. And what's happening here is we're sending this through to quadrant and it's accessing the names. That information is then sent to a merge where it's merging the actual data from the Google Drive. So these are each of the documents. And now in that merge, it takes both of those together and it has the quadrant name, which is Chatbot, merge with each file. From that it's merged. And this is an interesting point. This is what's great about having the AI. You can have human in the loop. And so what this is going to do is it's going to send this through and delete any old information. So if something is old, it's going to send you a notification here and say, are you sure you would like to delete this? If you say no, it doesn't execute and it stops the information from going through. If it says yes, then it continues going on. So human in the loop is very valuable for critical things inside of AI. So that's why we have it here, to make sure we have the right information along with not deleting information we actually need. So that information is saying, yes, you can execute, and it's getting information from the Google Drive. That information is merged. So now we have all of the information here, and that is sent through to our first loop, right? So the first loop, this loop is going to pass one piece of information through. So if we see here, we have one of the IDs, but we have executed 5 times. So if I lower this, I can see number 1, this is the number 1 executed. And what that is my first document. So what this is that is my first document that was executed, which is AI new technologies and corporate governance. Once that entire workflow was completed, it went back and completed the second document. Once that one was completed, it did the 3rd, 4th, and 5th inside of my Google Drive. The next node is the actual Google Drive, because at this point, what's happening is it's only passing through the ID. It doesn't know what's inside of it. So now this is telling it to download the actual file. So now if I click view, we can actually see the information. We can see the actual document. Now you're not going to do this every time, but you can just know that this is there. This is what the download is for. It's to actually download that content so the next node can interpret it. So now we have that actual document here. You can go through it and you can see it, but we're not going to do that. We're going to go to the next node. The next node up here in the top right is our convert to contents. We're going to convert this to a PDF. Now, this is important to note because what you need to do is make sure every document is a PDF. And how we do that is right here, we have the meme type. It says application-PDF, which is the meme type for that file. You have the option to do it in different formats. So if you have a different type of file, you could do it in that format. But this is important to note, where if you have different contents, you're going to have to add an if node. If it's this type, go to this route. If it's this type of file, go a different route. So this is where you would add that in. The next node retrieves that information that has been converted and it passes it through to extract the data. We have some information in that, but all we need to know is it's passed through and it's extracted the information. It uses Google Gemini, and then it passes it and merges both content together. That information is then sent down to a vector data store, which is quadrant vector store. And now we can see that information coming in, and we can see it being vectorized. That information then is completed. It's chunked up right here. So this is a chunking. This is where each piece of that information is chunked up into smaller chunks, and it's vectored into those by those chunks. And we see this is the loader and this is the chunk. We have the chunk size is 3000 with 0 overlap. This would add in 100 overlap. And what this is going to do is it's going to say every 3000 characters, start a new chunk and start at 100 inside of the last chunk. So start at 2900 and start with that so that you have some overlap. And then what'll happen is it'll wait to execute again. So that's what's happening here. And then up here we have a chatbot. This chatbot can be linked to your website. It can be linked to inside of your company. Here, I just use it out of this window right here where I can ask it questions. So I ask it questions, I retrieve the answer. I can also use it inside of my Telegram. I can use it. There's many different ways you can do. What this is doing is it has instructions inside the AI agent explaining that it is a ultimate AI research assistant for a doctor candidate, and you are going to access the vector data store and retrieve relevant information. It has the embedding of how it actually works, and then it uses ChatGPT to route the query along, and then it produces the result. You can do this. The production can be in many different ways. I have it to my Telegram. You can email, you can send it in Slack. There's so many different options you can do. Your imagination is the limit. Now, moving on to what is the vector data store. So essentially now if I go to the vector store, this information is marked. So now this is the 3000 pieces of information. So this is the 3000 chunks of information. We see that here in blue. That piece of information is ranked off of this right here. This is how many points it has. And then we can go down and we can see the next row, and it keeps going. So where this finished, it picks up the next part and keeps going and keeps going. So this is every document that we've uploaded into. This is every document we've uploaded into the vector store with each one having its points. So this is important to note, and this is important to set up. So now we're going to move into the step-by-step process of how to complete this. All right, so if you're still with me, we're going to go through the step-by-step guide of building this out in n8n. And the first thing I want to do is tell you that you need to go to create a workflow. So once you click that, I always want to rename this specifically for me so that I can delete this after I'm done. But I'm going to put AI RAG agent video. That will save. Now I can access that as I need to. The next thing I need to do is give it a trigger. So every n8n workflow starts with a trigger. And this is important because how you trigger this workflow to execute is how it will work. So in testing mode, I always do test manually for the most part. There's different things you can do. This is where you're going to have to customize this. So you can click plus and then you can add another trigger, and you can look through these triggers, and we'll go line by line what each one does. We have the trigger manually, which is the one we have where you just click test workflow and it will execute the workflow. We can do on an event. So this runs when this happens in an app like Telegram or Notion or Airtable. So if an event happens, and if you see this here, it has like a signal like it's listening. So this app is listening. And when something happens in a chat or in something, then it will message and start the workflow. You can start it on a schedule. So you can do hourly, daily, minute, seconds. You can run it on a webhook. You can do a form and link it to your website. You can do it from a higher workflow. So this executes when another workflow tells it and sends it information. You can execute on chat. So that's what we do for the chat model. And now we're going to move on to the next thing we're going to do. So to continue our AI RAG agent that will auto update, we need to add an edit node. And this edit node is just going to be for this specific example. You don't necessarily need an edit node if you are going to use a Google Sheet. But what this is doing is we are pasting in the title of our document and we're naming it the folder ID, right? So as we mentioned, what this is doing is it's going to read the folder ID and it's going to pass this information through. If you have a trigger that starts out with this information, you can delete this node and just skip it because that will be sent to a Google Drive. That Google Drive will be search a file. That Google Drive will be search a file and folder. So now we have this and we have our Google Drive connected. So to connect your Google Drive, there's many videos out there. All you need to do is get the client ID and the secret key when you set it up in Google's Cloud Console. So if you go to the link that's in the description below, there's other videos you can follow that are step-by-step guide of how to set this up, but just get the client ID, get the secret ID and paste it in here, and this will be ready for you to go. We have ours already connected. So what we need to do is we need to tell it to get that information that we're sending it through. So now we have this already set up. What we need to do is we need to add a filter. So we're going to click add a filter and we need to put drive. This is going to tell it to get it from the drive. However, we don't need it to be a list. So this will drop down and say, this is the list that we're going to pull it from. We need to grab it from the ID. So what that means is we're going to grab it from the ID of the file name. We need to change this to an expression. And this is going to change to the ID type of the what's being passed. So that information was being passed through, and this is going to grab that actual folder and then update that and then update it in that way. So now we're going to hit this plus, and now we're going to hit another edit node. This edit node is going to be for the quadrant database. So now we're going to be able to pass through the information. We're going to call it the name of the database here. And then we want to call it the actual name of the database. So this is telling it we're going to call the quadrant collection name, and this is the name of it. And so when I go into my quadrant collection and I go into my collections, here is that actual one that I've created. We have other ones here, but this is the one that I've created. So now going into that, this one is completed. I'm going to move it down here so that we have it structured. Again, anything to the left was going to go through and delete the files so you don't have redundant information. So it searches the quadrant database. That's what this one is for. And that information is going to pull back and delete any of the redundant information. So then we need to go here and we need to type in summarize. So we're going to summarize the text and count. This is going to change from count to append. And then we're going to put ID here. And then that node is completed. So then I'm going to take this one and move it down here. And then I'm going to take that, move it, delete it. And then I'm going to link these in like this. So now we have that set up the right way. And this is completed. So what this is going to do is it's going to pass this information through and it's going to go to both of these. So if we do not merge these, we're not going to be able to use that information. So what the merge does is it takes 2 rows of information or more, you can do up to 10, and it merges them together. So if this one were to complete and we didn't have this connected, this would stop. If we were to run this, this would go through. And even if this were connected to the same node, it could only pass through one string of information. So what this is going to do is it's going to put both strings together so that it could have both as an output. So now when we bring them back in, we would have both being able to use on the other side. So it's very useful. So now I'm going to give myself a little bit of working room and I'm going to click this plus. And now we're going to add in our Telegram. So Telegram is going to be send a message. So our Telegram is going to be send a text message, which is right here in the middle. And what we're going to do is we're going to link in Telegram. And we need to send and wait for a response. So what I want to do is I need to update my chat ID. I'm going to paste in the message of what I want to put. This is going to be an expression because we have the ID coming through and the quadrant name coming through. So to set up your Telegram, you need to go in. There's a lot of videos. I can link one in the description below, but you need to go in and message the bot father. The bot father will set you up an account. I created mine's called Datadoc, and then you can get the chat ID also. Once you get that, you're going to have this as the message. Here is the message right here. You can take a screenshot and rewrite it. The next thing we need to do is approval, is an approval type, right? And then we need to click the options right here. And so now we have approve or disapprove. So we need to change this to approve or disapprove. And now we have the buttons that are going to come through to you. One of the limitations I want to change is that I want to change the limit of the wait time. So if this doesn't come back to me in, let's say, 15 minutes, this will be obsolete and not a useful message anymore, and we would have to re-verify it. So now this is completed. I'm going to move it down here. I'm going to move this down because I do not like the lines overlapping. I'm going to turn this off because I don't have my client ID in there, but it's very easy for you to get. The next thing we're going to do is an if statement. And this if statement is going to say, if this is true, then do this. If it is not true, then go and send me another message. So here is the JSON. What I need to do is make sure this is true. So now we're going to keep this as a Boolean. And so then we're going to say, if this is true, and then what I want to do is change this to an expression, and I need to paste my message here. So here's the JSON, you can take a screenshot of it. But basically we're saying if we receive information from the past node that said approve, send it in the true route. If it is false, then we're going to send you a notification to Telegram. So now we're going to go back here and go to Telegram. And this is going to be a send a message again. And then we're going to say the Telegram ID. And then we're going to say the text as the quadrant database was declined. So we're going to say something to the effect of that. This can stay fixed because it's always going to send the same thing. And this is completed. So now we'll move it down here. Since I don't have my client ID, it's not going to work. So I'm going to turn it off. Now, all of this. So now I'm going to zoom out, and now I have more room to work. So again, this right here is going to send the information, and then I'll get it approved and delete what doesn't work. Now the next thing we need to do is we need to do another merge. We need to do another merge. So to do this, we're going to click this plus. We're going to click merge. And then we'll take, it'll be a 2. And this is going to be standing by itself. We'll take one of these at the top from the Google Drive, and then the if to the bottom. So now this is completed. Now we're going to be working on the vector database. So now the next thing I need to do is we have the information coming through. We need to actually download it to the Google Drive. So now we're going to go Google. So to do this, I'm going to click Google Drive, and then I'm going to click this open. And this is going to be a download a file. So what needs a pass here is the file ID. Again, the file, this is going to change to an ID by ID. And then this is going to be the information that passes through. This needs to be an expression. And what's happening here, there's nothing connected. That's why this is red. But what's happening here is when I go to this file, it's going to pass this through. for each of these files underneath so that it can download. Once I have that, I will connect it to this merge. And now if I open it back up, this is not red anymore. It is ready to go. Now we have a few things. This is where we need to understand what's happening. Again, inside of my file, I have 5 PDFs. If you have a Google Sheet, if you have an Excel, whatever you have, a different type of file, this is where it's important, because where you need to do is you need to convert the file. And this is going to be extract from a file, convert from binary to JSON. And what we need to do is this is where you choose the type of file to come out. So what we need to get it from is a PDF. This is going to allow us to extract it from a PDF and turn it into plain text. Now, the extract from a PDF, once you've had this and it's basically set up. So any of these you do, it will change it and it's automatically set up. So it's not complicated to use, but you just need to make sure you're choosing the right file type for what you want to do. So the next thing, here's where we're getting a little more complicated. We need to an extract node. And so this node is called information extractor. What this is going to do is we're going to give it some context. The text is going to be the text from the file that was just received from the Google Doc. So the Google Doc went through an extractor and now we have the text. That information is then going to be parsed out. And then we're going to work through the attributes to work that out. So this stays the same. Now we need to add an attribute, and this attribute is the overarching theme. And what this means is this is the title of the theme of what we're going to get. The type stays a string. This is the type of data. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add this in, and I will show you what this says. This is the description of the information. So this is the description of the information, is to summarize the main themes discussed in the overarching themes section. We have a couple of these, so I'm going to work through them and I'm going to talk through what they're doing. The next one is a reoccurring topic. And this is what this is going to do as far as the list. So it lists the reoccurring topics mentioned in the common threads section as an array. The next thing is pain points. And so we're going to add another attribute. We're going to add a pain point. This is the name. And then we're going to give it what it's doing again. So now what this one is doing, I'm going to turn it to an expression so you can read it. Summarize the user's frustrations or challenges mentioned in the pain point section as an array for the string. So now we have two more things. We have the analytical insights. And then we want to give it the extract the list of key analytical notes and behaviors. So now here we're going to turn it to an expression so you can see what it says. Extract the list of key analytical observations. Observations from the analytical insights section, including shifts in tone and behavior. The last attribute is going to be keywords. Now, keywords is the name. What we need to do is we need to generate some keywords for this. So this is going to be an expression so I can show you. These will all stay non-expressions or fixed, but this says generate a list of 10 keywords that capture the essence of the document. And then here's the information. So you can modify that to work for you that works best. We need to add a property. You need to add a property and this can stay the same. So this is basically done. Now we do have a challenge. You've got to figure out which model you want to use. For this method, I'm going to go with the Google Gemini chat model. Now it's very easy to set up, but all you want to do is you go to your Google API. It's going to be linked in the description below. You can copy your API key, which is right here. When you go back in and you want to connect a new account, just paste your API key there and this will be able to set it up. So what's important to know is you got to pick the right model, and the model we're choosing is this Gemini 2.0 Flash XP. Now with this completed, I'm going to add another node. This is a merge node. And this merge node is going to merge this information with some other information here. It's going to merge with this Google Sheets. So now this is completed, and now we're going to add in our quadrant store, quadrant vector store. And this is going to be add documents to a vector store. So that is already entered. We have our connection already completed. To connect this, we need to connect a new credential. We need an API key and a URL. So to set this up, you can go to your quadrant and you can go to here to your API key. And now I have my API key right here. I can copy this and then I can paste it right here in the API key. And then I want to get my URL for the quadrant vector store. So that's going to be this URL right here. I will show you what it is. I want to go to my collections. And this is going to be everything in front of the 63063-dashboard. So anything in front of this is going to be your quadrant URL. So delete this ending part and paste that part in, and that will connect your account. From this, you can just select which database you have. Since I have two now, I'm going to select that one, and it's going to be prepared to receive the information. So we have the information here, and I'm going to zoom in so we can get a better look at this. So we have that information coming in. What we need to do is we need to embed it. And what this is going to do is we're going to use OpenAI's embedding system. Now, what I'm going to do is I want to make sure you understand what these do. These embed the vectors. So it's going to turn your data into embeddings, which are numeric values. You can use the large, you can use the small, or you can use this text embedding 002. Now, what's important to note from this is these three have to relate with this segment. So if you see right here, the size, 1536, 3072, I made these with two different embeddings for this video. So this is a small and this is a large. If you are running this and you choose the wrong one, that doesn't work, it will not work properly. So what I mean by that is if you choose large, but you set up your database to receive small, it's going to give you an error. So this has to match how you set up this database. So now that this is completed, I'm going to select small, and this is complete. It's move this out the way and it's good to go. But this is still red. So why is this red? Is we need to load the data. So let's do a default loader. This default loader is going to be a binary loader. We're going to load specific data and automatically detect the mean type. Now we need to add some properties. So the first property we want to add, is metadata. We're going to add the property, and the metadata is going to be the file name. And then we're going to pass that through from the other as an expression, from the other nodes as an expression. And then we're going to do a pub key. Then last is we're going to pass that expression through. We're going to add a couple more properties. So reoccurring topic. And this is coming from the extracted information that we did above. So if you see here, this is extracted metadata from the reoccurring topics. So this is coming from the one above. And then we need to do the analytical insights. So we're taking each one of the extractor information and we're moving it down here. This is going to be the expression. It's going to be copy and paste. You can take a screenshot of this and move it over. These are red because we don't have any information coming through. Conclusions. So we're going to do the same for conclusion. And then the last one is going to be keywords. Now with this completed, this data loader is set up. The next thing we need to do, this is not going to work properly unless we have a token splitter. There's many ways to do this, but what we're going to do is we're going to do a token splitter. You can do text splitter. You can do text splitter, character text splitter. You can do recursive text splitter. We're going to do a token splitter. So you want to label this as how many text characters you want it to be. You can do 1,000, you can do 5,000, you can do however big you want this to be. Now I'm going to keep it 1,000, but what's more important is the chunk overlap. If you want this to be 100, what's going to happen is 1,000 pieces, 1,000 chunks of tokens are going to be passed through. And at 900, it'll start collecting for both. So the last 100 would go in the last set and the last 100 will go in the next group, which will allow it to have context into the last information. With this complete, we're going to add a wait node. This wait node is going to ensure we do not hit our API limits, because if we're going too fast, it's going to throw error. So we're going to move this down. And what we need to do is we need to get more room. And we need to take this and we need to move it right. Well, we missed a step. Okay. So let's go back. I'm going to pull this back a little bit. And I need to add right here a loop. So I need to add a loop. So here's the loop. And this loop is going to send one batch of information through. So let's fix this really quick. So this loop is going to send it to here. This done is going to go to Telegram. And what this is going to do is it's going to send a message. And the message it's going to send is, where's that at? Okay, so it's going to send a message. And the message it's going to send is, once you have this set up one time, it's going to set up all the time easily. You're going to paste this in and say that the vector data store has been completed. So now we have this right here that once this loop is completed, it will send it to us. I'm going to take this wait node and I'm going to move it all the way around and put it back in here. All right. So the reason I'm doing that is I hate when these things are out of order. So now what happens is this loop goes through. If we have 20 documents, it's going to send one through. It gets processed, waits a couple minutes, goes to number 2, gets processed, goes through and keeps going. Once it's hit number 20, it's going to go through and it's going to be done. And then it'll send you a message that your vector data store is all completed. So now we have our setup process. This is set up so that it will receive information into our vector store. Now we're going to set up the chatbot. And this chatbot is going to be very unique. Okay. This is where you get all your bread and butter from. And what you want to do is you want to open a chat window. So we need to add another trigger and we need to send a message on a chat message right here. So now we have this set up. This is easy to do, right? So all we need to do is hit AI agent, and now we have an AI agent. Now let's talk through this and what we're going to do. We're going to prompt this agent to execute things. So now let's talk through the agent. The agent needs to have a role, it needs to have a task, and it has to have tools to do that task. So the first thing we need to do is we need to give this agent a brain. So this easy method we're going to do is we're going to give it OpenAI's chat model. We're going to give it 4.0 mini, and I have my account connected. There's many ways to connect this account. It's very easy. If you click new credential, and then you go into your OpenAI platform and get your API key, you paste it in. It's very easy. You can connect that pretty simple. So now with this complete, we want to give it memory. This memory is very important because I always do 10. I find that no one goes back 10 messages. So what this is going to do is if you have a chatbot or research bot or whatever it is, and you're asking it questions, it's going to remember 10 messages. So if somebody were asking a message, if it asks one question, it will not know what that means, but it can come back to it as long as it's inside those 10 messages. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to set up the vector store. So now we're going to hit quadrant. So Q quadrant vector store. And all we need to do is, this is going to be a simple process of retrieve from the agent. We want to name what name that agent is. So this is going to be from our chatbot. We're going to retrieve information. We're going to retrieve information about AI. And then we're going to name it to chatbot. And again, this chatbot is just a name of quadrant. So it's chatbot. It's not a real chatbot, but it's our chatbot, which is going to be our research assistant. And so now this is complete. And the only thing we need to do is, again, this embedding. We're going to embed with OpenAI. Again, this has to be small to match our information that we set up the quadrant vector store with. All right, so this is complete. Now we need to send the message to where we need it to go. This model is going to send it to Telegram. You can frame this in any way you want. We're going to send a message. So we're going to send a message. It's right here. We click send a message. And then what we want to do is we want to send the information that was sent from the AI. So this is going to be what we put inside of the text. It is an expression, which means it's going to take that information and be dynamically changed every time. So now this is complete, but now the most important thing has to be done. We need to update our AI agent. And so what we need to do is we need to give our AI agent some information of what they are and what they're supposed to do. To update our agent, what we need to do is first change this to define below. I'm going to show you what I do to update my agents every time. I'm going to take one of my old chatbots. I'm going to open this up and take a snapshot, snipping tool. I'm going to take a snapshot of my prompt from a different model. And then I'm going to write it inside of ChatGPT. I dropped the picture. Then I'm going to say, rewrite this for an expert research assistant for an n8n AI agent. Then it will rewrite this for my agent. So now I have this complete. I will just copy this. Then I go back into my n8n, paste it here. And then we are complete. What I want to do is I want to keep this the same. I want to add an option and add a system message and then paste it down here. So now let me show you what's happening is we have the information come through. Whatever you're asking it goes here. And now what we've prompted our agent to do goes down here. So here is what the agent is going to do. They're an expert research assistant, blah, blah, blah. Tools to use would call the Vector data store. And we have everything it's going to do. With this complete, we have our systems completed. If you found value in this video, please like and subscribe, join my channel, and add comments below on different things you want me to build. I'm the Data Doc. I appreciate your time. Bye-bye.